I still have a big back catalog of movie recommendations to get through, so yesterday I watched Hyena Road. This is a war movie that takes place in Afghanistan and follows the operations of a military unit that's trying to work with the locals to establish a route for safe transportation throughout the country. The unit finds himself caught up in the middle of a conflict between one of their allies, who is a very powerful businessman who is double-crossing them, and a dangerous war vet whose son was threatened by this lord. This movie is written, directed, and produced by Paul Gross, who also put himself in the role of the level-headed captain of the intelligence branch who has a complete view of the entire situation at hand. And he certainly takes the opportunity to give himself a couple of cool guy lines. And as for the other characters, whether it's him very sadly directing them that way, or just the actors feeling as though they have an obligation to the man giving them a job, there are a couple of jokes that he delivers that people laugh just a little too hard at. The filmmaking aspects of this movie are kind of across the board just mediocre, except for two very similar departments that exist on opposite ends of the spectrum. I think most of the stuff that has to do with guns is kind of weak. The visual effects muzzle flashes are piddly, the blood hits do not match the contrast of the rest of the scene, and a man who is supposed to be an incredibly deadly combatant operates a rifle like this, which is a little less than correct. But the practical explosions done for this film are pretty spectacular. They pack a punch, they're photographed great, and the editor makes use of them fantastically, letting them play out nearly entirely. Almost always when coming into a military movie, I'm ready to combat some glorification of the American military complex. And I was ready to do the same here, but at the very end, and honestly probably before that, they made it clear that this was the Canadian military. And despite those two being so similar that I could not tell the difference, as an American, it's still such a vastly different circumstance that I will not be voicing any of my criticisms. 2.5 stars.